What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the PS5 career mode. This is episode number 2. And we start today's episode off with our first London derby against Millwall at home. But before we dive into it, I want to say firstly, thank you for all the nice comments on episode number 1. I will be addressing some feedback in today's episode, starting off with an apology for the mispronunciation of Kyan's name in the first episode. And if you haven't checked out the foundation yet, please do so. Loftus Road was renamed the Kyan Prince Foundation Stadium back in 2019, and the foundation was set up by his father Mark, who was a former boxer, in honor of his son, who was a former youth academy player who was fatally stabbed in 2006 whilst trying to break up some bullying. And the foundation do some amazing work in helping to combat knife crime, whilst also educating and empowering children as well. So please do check it out. There's a link in the description to the foundation if you'd like to learn more. And I think I'll leave a link to the foundation in every episode of this series as well. If you ever get a spare 10-15 minutes, definitely go on the website, check out what the foundation do. They do some amazing work, and it's certainly worth a read and worth a donation if you've got some cash as well. So yes, for the first game of today's episode here, coming on the back of our win on the opening day away at Adams Park against Wycombe Wanderers, taking on Millwall in our first London derby. Super excited for it for our first game at home this season as well. Starting off with Lyndon Dykes scoring his second goal into, I mentioned him in the last episode. He's going to be the guy that the pressure is on this season to bang in the goals and try and get us into the top 10 this season. Rounding the goalkeeper, making it 1-0 as we go in front early, but the Lions responded as you would expect. Kenneth Zahor finding the leveller on loan at Millwall right now, playing a 1-2 with the post as the visitors found their equalising goal, and probably deserved as well. But it was a really action-packed game where both teams were not settling for the point. And unlike in the game against Wycombe even, where we sort of routinely won by a single goal to nil, this was a lot more different. I knew for sure if we were to win this one, we would need more than a one goal. Millwall were looking really ferocious, really threatening indeed, and both teams knew that a point was not what they wanted on match day 2. Liam Kelly in our goal made a couple of really important saves to keep us on level terms, including here denying Conor Mahoney with a brilliant smothering save there as he keeps us level at 1-1. 17 minutes on the clock, both teams pushing for a winner. It was real end-to-end football, the sort of really exciting football you love to watch. And as Bright Osei Samuel dinked down the right-hand side by Lyndon Dykes, the goal scorer, he steps around Pierce, cuts onto his left foot and bangs it in to the back of the net to put us back in front. And I mentioned him in the first episode. In fact, I mentioned both of these players in the first episode. Dykes is the guy that we're turning to score the goals this season, but Bright Osei Samuel, formerly of Blackpool, I think he's going to be the star of this team this year. First goal of the season. He's got such great pace down that right hand side, gets in behind the back line, quick little fake shot, step inside, and a great finish as well with the weaker left foot to put us back in front, and we would hold on to the victory with a 2-1 scoreline. So back-to-back wins to start the campaign off. Really great game though, you know, really end-to-end football. That's the sort of games of FIFA which you really enjoy. And I do believe this season our home form at the Kyan Prince Foundation Stadium is going to be really important as well. You know, away from home, I think we'll do alright, but in my career modes, I kind of like to make the home ground a fortress if I can, and that can be really crucial when you're pushing for promotion, or perhaps you're in the top tier and you're trying to secure your safety as well. You know, being at home, you want to make it a fortress and a tough place for visitors to come. I don't want to lose more than 3 or 4 games at home all season long. That's going to be the target, but it will of course be very difficult to do that. For the second game of 5 in today's episode, first cup game with QPR, and heading into this one I would have picked a fully rotated lineup for the game as well, because in the first season for me, the Championship is my sole priority. The FA Cup, the ball wants to reach around a 32, and the Carabao Cup, the ball never care about. So for me, it's all about Championship football this year. However, a chance for fringe players to impress, and I mentioned him in the first episode, Charlie Kelman, the English-born American striker. I said this year, keep your eye on this young talent. He could have a breakout season for us here in his first year at the Kyan Prince Foundation Stadium, and he's got the first goal for us, drilling one in off the inside the post, and has set up our second goal as well as we went 2-0 up against the lower league side as well. He's got good pace, the American, and I must say I like the look of him a lot. Very lowly rated at 63 overall, I think it is, but only 18 years old. He'll have a lot of potential. I must say I'm quite excited about him. It'll be hard for him to outmuscle Lyndon Dykes and get a lot more minutes, but if he can take the chances like he did in this game as well, then it will certainly be given some rewarding game times. some more game time as a reward from myself. So we scored the first, set up the second, and we get the win by 2-1. And one thing I will say as well is that the sliders in this series will be adjusted quite frequently as well. You know, in the first episode, some of you guys asked me about what sliders I'm using, difficulty I'm playing on. I'll show you in just a moment's time that sliders are indeed all default of 50, but in that game, Rochdale had like 71% possession, and I want to have more realistic gameplay, and realism is going to be key throughout the course of this save as well. You can see here we had a bid here for Nico after the game. After bringing in Omar from Reading, Nico's now going to be our backup left back, and it was a decent deal from Inter Miami, trying to take him to America. I believe he's an American-born Finnish international, but I rejected the deal because it wouldn't be realistic to sell the player after he just signed a new 3-year extension at the club about 5 weeks ago. So I decided to reject the bid out of realism and keep him here. And as I want you guys to get involved throughout the course of this series and keep on sending me transfer targets, I had quite a few of them in the first episode as well. Do bear in mind that realism is the key in this series as well. We want to do things both in terms of the gameplay and the transfers very realistically indeed. And so for our third game of today's episode, 3rd of 5, returning to matters in the Championship to take on Preston North End away at Deepdale. Tom Carroll will become already our 4th goal scorer of this season, volleying in an Adoma cross and making it 1-0. Really nice goal there to give us the lead. But right before the break, Preston would respond through Scott Sinclair, giving the host the leveller, and what a goal it was. Gets in behind Jed Spence, who briefly picked up a knock before that as he drills it into the far corner and gives the host their equalising goal. Early on in the second half, I noticed that Spence hadn't ran off his injury, so I decided to take him off as a precautionary method. In just a moment's time, you'll see what I alluded to a moment ago with the sliders. The injury frequency and injury severity is increased and decreased because I do want to get some injuries throughout the course of the season, because if you don't adjust the injury sliders in FIFA, you'll never get injuries, and it's just very unrealistic. Not a single club can go through an entire season with not a single injury throughout the entire campaign. So yeah, we will see some injuries this year, and that was our first of the year, Spence being forced off. But after the restart, Preston would come from a goal down to lead through Johnson with a little bit of a lucky goal there. His first shot deflecting right back to him, and the second shot drilled in as Preston had the lead for the first time in the game. We were facing our first defeat of the season, but with 12 minutes to go, pretty much straight after the Johnson goal, I brought on Chris Willock off the bench, and Willock finds us our leveller, and he becomes our 5th goal scorer of this season already as well in all competitions. So back on level terms, 2-2 is how the game would finish, and whilst Lyndon Dykes, the pressure is on him to score the goals, it's nice to know he's got some teammates that can chip in when required as well. 2-2 the final score. Again, a really awesome end-to-end type of game. Both teams not settling for a point and wanting to grab all 3. Those are the type of games I want to see more throughout the course of this series. Not those sort of dull 1-0 or 0-0 games. I want fun games like that one. But yeah, there's the confirmation for you, the injury sliders there. Injury frequency is up to 70. Severity is down to 45. I tend to notice that the ACL injury, you get one of those per season, and that's, you know, quite unrealistically fair, because of course they are the long-term injuries you can get in FIFA Career Mode. But I'm hoping we'll get a few more injuries like there with the Jed Spence one. He went down with a bruised shoulder. He's going to be out for 5 days, so not a serious injury, but little knocks here and there. I want to see more of those. And of course I will be adjusting the sliders throughout the course of the season and the series as well, making adjustments when required. And in the comment section down below, guys, feel free to give me slider suggestions to try and get realistic gameplay, as well as fun gameplay too, of course, and making sure that the injuries occur, again, a very realistic rate and type of realistic injuries you can expect throughout the course of the season. So, for example, in like December, when we've got like heavy fixture congestion, I'll obviously up the frequency and perhaps the severity sliders as well, because of course, when there are games coming thick and fast, you do expect players to get injured a lot more frequently. So, yes, there we go. But to take on Borough for the 4th game of today's episode, of visitors taking the lead early, we did respond through yet another different goal scorer, and I really like to see this as well. Cher, the Moroccan Cam, giving us the equalising goal. Brilliant finish as well, as we got ourselves back on level terms. I'm really liking that too. Lots of different goal scorers to start the campaign off. However, 12 minutes after the restart, the Borough would restore their lead. Shocking first touch with me with Amos in the centre of the park, and once the Borough came forward, Britta Sombalonga drilled the visitors back in front as they restored their lead. But I'm noticing this in the early stage of the season. The games are really end-to-end and played at a really fast pace, which is what the board want to see as well. And just after the hour mark, straight after conceding to a Somber Longer, we get ourselves back on level turns for the second time in the game. I bought Nico off the bench. We decided to keep him, and I like him as an understudy for Omar as well. Lovely charging run down left-hand side, rolls it across the centre of the area, and there's Lyndon Dykes for his third goal of the season already to put us back on level terms. So twice we battled back from a goal down to claim a point in this game, and whilst defensively we've not exactly started off with a superb record at the moment, obviously the board want us to be rock solid this year. We've only had the one clean sheet, and that was on the opening day. I am very encouraged about our attacking play when going forward. We certainly do look capable of scoring a lot of goals this season. So 2-2 the final score, and following the game we had a bit here from Macaulay Bonnet, the Zimbabwean striker who was signed from Charlton, funnily enough in October of this year, and in the game we're not even in October yet, so I don't know how that time travelling sort of stuff works, but I decided to reject it. I was thinking about accepting it because, again, I do like Charlie Kelman a lot. I'm not to use Macaulay, I haven't used Macaulay yet, but again, as I want to keep things realistic, I can't think it will be realistic to sell him since he's literally only just arrived in real life. So again, realistically, I decided to turn the offer down. And also to the final games of this episode, fifth and final game away at Vitality against recently relegated Bournemouth here on the south coast. You would have noticed to start the game off, I changed the camera angle back to default. Now in the first episode, some of you guys are asking me what camera angle I'm using. It's a sort of a new camera angle that the game have got for the next gen consoles, or at least on the PS5. It's more of like a broadcasty angle that reminds me of like FIFA 03 way back in the day. Some of you guys seem to like it, some of you guys don't. It's totally up to you whether you want me to change it or not or keep it. I don't really mind either way. I revert back to the default camera angle for the fifth and final game of today's episode. So yeah, in the comment section down below today, guys, if you would be so kind, could you please let me know what camera angle you prefer? Either the default classic camera angle that we're using here for the Bournemouth game, or the new camera angle, which is more of a broadcast TV type of angle. Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm totally fine reverting back to default or keeping the new style. It's completely up to you. Let me know in the comment section down below what camera angle you prefer. But yeah, for our fifth and final game, we did manage to return to winning ways away on the south coast against recently relegated Bournemouth, who we will be battling with this season for a top 10 finish and outside shot of the playoffs as well. Albert Adoma, great start to the veteran this season, scoring his first of the club, first goal of the season, and to add to 2 assists he's got already, Omar getting his first assist of the campaign. That was really nice to see too. And so to start the campaign off, 5 games in, already 3 wins on the board and 8 goals getting scored as well. Defensively, not as good as I was hoping, already 5 goals conceded, but 11 points from our first 5 games and only 2 points off top spot in a playoff spot. There's a long way to go. The season's only just began, but I'm very, very encouraged by what we've seen, especially when going forward and with all the different players getting their names on the score sheet so far as well. But that will end this episode of the PS5 career mode. So a big thank you for watching, guys. I really have enjoyed it, and if you have enjoyed today's episode, then please do drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to comment what camera angle you prefer, and I'll make some changes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next episode very soon.